the first ever game between NHL players and the Soviets. Welcome to Focus. Good day, my name is Ray Lalonde, and this is my daily sports business podcast. Here we go. I want to give you a bit of sports history in the bigger umbrella of sports business. I want to remind everyone of how much we miss the classic December games, the holiday games during the Canadiens and the Nordiques, but also the December-January games between Soviet Union teams, Russian teams like Red Army, Moscow Dynamo, Moscow Spartak, and others that came and faced the NHL teams during the holidays. From 1972's memorable and spectacular Summit Series, Canada versus the Soviets, featuring 4 games in Canada, 4 games in Moscow in September 1972. That was the most incredible international series ever. All the Canada Cups had followed, and all the individual games had featured the Canadiens, the Leafs, the Flyers, the Bruins, the Islanders, and so on against the best clubs from Russia. They would come in on tours and play 4, 5, 6 games at a time. And one game that stands out, of course, is the 1975 New Year's Eve matchup between the Canadiens and the Red Army, showcasing the top 2 goaltenders in the world at the time, Ken Dryden for the Canadiens, Vladislav Tretiak for the Red Army. And the final score was 3-3. That was a game that was absolutely breathtaking. One of the best hockey games ever played. Featured the Canadiens on the verge of winning 4 Stanley Cups because they started winning right after. Spring of 1976 all the way to 1979. And the Red Army was really recognized as one of the best Soviet teams. They were stacked with players like Valery Kharlamov, Alexander Yakushev, Mikhailov, Maltsev, Vasiliev, coached by Viktor Tikhonov. They were awesome, and of course, Tretiak in the net. The Canadiens dominated that game. Shots on goal were 38-13, and if it wasn't for Tretiak's brilliance, the Habs would have easily defeated Red Army. But it was a classic game. Tremendous hockey as it was best played. So I want to go back in time a little bit earlier. And this is thanks to my good friend Brian, who reminded me of this important anniversary on December 15th. 53 years ago exactly. December 15th, 1965 at the Montreal Forum. So this is a lesser-known game, but it was actually the first time ever that NHL players faced off against the Soviets. And the game featured not the Canadiens, the Montreal Junior Canadiens against the Soviet national team. Yes, the Junior Canadiens. Now, the Junior Canadiens in the 60s and early 70s, they were stacked with what would be the future of the Canadiens, because those players just graduated upwards and joined the Montreal Canadiens from the NHL. Now, the junior team benefited from the presence of 5 NHL players, which is why I'm saying this was the first time NHL players faced Russians, Soviets. And that included Jacques Plante, one of the greatest goalies ever, played for the Canadiens, but he was just retiring from the New York Rangers, and he came back for that one game. The other NHL players in the lineup that night, André Boudria, Noël Picard, Bill Inglis, Jean Gauthier, and Norm Dennis. But the Canadiens' junior team were even greater in the sense that these players would become legendary players, Jacques Lemaire and Serge Chavard. Others included Carole Vadnais, Larry Plot, Christian Bordelot. They all had careers in the NHL. They all had careers with the Canadiens. And they were at a Forum in a full house, 14,981. And because of Jacques Plante's masterpiece, the junior Canadiens defeated the Soviets 2-1. That was a game to remember. Plante later called it the most memorable game of his career. And that was, according to all historians, one of the defining moments in the history of hockey and international play. And we've come a long way since. We all wish we had more games like this. We wish we had the Nordiques again back in the NHL and more holiday matchups, because it gets people talking and excited. It creates energy and passion, and we love those classics. And it would be great to see more teams from around the world, from the Super League in Sweden, the best clubs in Czech Republic and in Finland, obviously from Russia. Wouldn't it be awesome to have them come over here so we could see their games and their level of talent? The NHL is sending teams to play exhibition games, even regular season games overseas now. But we don't see those teams come back and face us. I know I missed that. Thanks for listening. You're listening to Focus. Follow me on Twitter at @RealRayLalonde. Share the podcast with friends and family on YouTube or SoundCloud. This is Ray Lalonde. Talk to you soon.